Thank you for watching Rider Nation Station's presentation of Third and Long, brought to you by these following fine sponsors: Buffalo Wild Wings, Miller's Funeral Home, Eagles Lodge 767, Rabel's Auto Service, Plus One Professionals, All Glaze Equipment Rental, Midway Trailers, American Legion Post 323, Albert Sporting Goods, Family Audiology, Speckman Automotive, Kogi Plumbing and Heating, Spees Chiropractic, Varsity Lanes, Minster Bank, VFW Post 9289, and Guarnieris Pizzeria.
Here at TLC, we expanded our business, so we wanted the security of knowing exactly where all the kids are and what's going on in each of the rooms. We chose Fowler's because we've done all our televisions with them, and they mentioned they have security systems. So we just wanted to go out and look at it, and they were very upfront, and they do excellent work from start to finish. And so we chose Fowler's TV. It's been great for us here at TLC Learning Center, and Fowler's TV would be great for anyone.
Guarnieris Pizzeria and Pub has partnered with Rider Nation Station this season so that every Friday night, Guarnieris can be Rough Rider Central. Guarnieris will be streaming Rough Rider football live every Friday night at 7, paired with your favorite Rider aid. Call Guarnieris during or after the game to place your pickup order for pizza, wings, or hoagies at 419-394-2244. Remember, Guarnieris, home of the signature Big Ralph. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Third and Long on Rider Nation Station. Tonight we are streaming live from Guarnieris Pizzeria and Pub in downtown St. Mary's, and joining me as they do each and every week, former coaches for the Rough Riders, Coach Denny Vossler, Coach Roger Duncan, and Coach Don Martindale. Many people know him as Cork, but I'll tell you what, most people know him as a science teacher. Not many of us knew that he was actually a football coach, and probably one of Skip's first coaches that he hired. And so we're going to start with you, Cork, and we're going to find out a little bit about how you first came to know Skip, how Skip came to St. Mary's, and how you became part of his staff.
Well, in 1950, when I was at Ohio Northern, was on the same football team with Skip. In one of the quarters, we roomed together. So I've known him had known him since 1950. And then after we both finished college and went into service and came back, he coached at Hardin Northern. And I was at Spencerville. But then, so we kept in contact with him. And then one time he was up came up to Spencerville to a track meet. And he's telling me they had a job opening in St. Mary's. This would have been his second year here. His first year here, he was kind of by himself pretty much. So I was able to got the job. And then Skip told me how he got to St. Mary's. He'd been in Hardin Northern, and he was there 3 years and had great teams. And one day, a book salesman came into his gym. The guy said he's a book salesman. He wanted to talk to Skip. He told the superintendent he was a book salesman. Anyway, he talked to Skip and offered him the job at St. Mary's. So Skip came here in 1958, and I came in 1959.
Really? Well, let me ask you this: as long as you've known Skip and with the St. Mary's program, has the wing tee offense been his forte, or was there somewhere down along the line in his career that he changed from a certain style of offense to the wing tee, or has it always been wing tee?
Yeah, well, when we were at Northern, we would have a halfback in motion or a set. So basically, he had that before the wing tee came in, but he had kind of been running that before it became popular. So that was real early we started running that here.
And your claim to fame for the Rough Rider program is that when you left, they hired this guy right here in the center, Coach Duncan. So you had some pretty big shoes to fill, or not?
I had real big shoes to fill. One of the funniest things that Cork told me, he said, now Skip carries a clipboard, and he said, and he throws that thing. And he said, so be ready, stay away from him, he said, you know. And so then I think Cork and maybe Quinn Clark told him, well, you know, Dunk's a pretty good guy. You hit him with that clipboard, he's ought to turn it around and fire it right back at you. And so a couple years went by, and I said, well, you know, we've got to do something with that clipboard. And so the backup quarterback, which Joe can verify when he was the JV quarterback, kept the plays, and that way Skip's hands were free and he could scream and yell and yell at me and didn't have to do anything. But yeah, I was lucky. I was at a clinic in Louisville, Kentucky, and my old high school coach Gil Smith was up in the stands, and I went up to talk to Smitty, and there was this other guy with him who happened to be Skip Bachman. Well, Skip excused himself, and Smitty and I talked, and I said, hey, I was down at Lakota north of Cincinnati, and I said, I'd like to get back up in this area. I said, I like the town thing, you know, that St. Mary's versus Wapak versus Van Wertsline and so forth. And he said, well, Skip said he's going to have an opening. And so that put me in motion, and lo and behold, that spring of '67, I had an interview and I was here. So I've always told people if they had any complaints about me, it's all Cork's fault.
Yeah, my connection with Cork was when I first came to St. Mary's. They hired me as a science teacher, and Cork was a science teacher in the McBroom, and so Cork was my mentor when I came to St. Mary's in 1973. And but when I was a sophomore playing football in St. Mary's, was the first year that Cork was no longer on the varsity staff. He had kind of retired at that time, and you know, he moved on to guidance counseling and teaching science in McBroom. And then, like I said, 4 years later, when I got hired, I teach science in St. Mary's. And Skip told me, he says, I don't have a varsity job open for you, but when I get one, why, you know, you'll be first considered and all that stuff. And I think I started out coaching freshmen for a couple years, and then I moved up to the varsity staff. So, but Cork was my mentor as my science teacher there at McBroom. You know, Earl Campbell hired me and said, you go up there and just do whatever Don Martindale tells you. And that's what I did. So.
Absolutely. You know, last week I talked in our trivia question last week was that there was, and of all the people that have played played football for St. Mary's, only one has been drafted to the NFL. Tim Fortney, Wally later told me, got invited to the Patriots, went there, got a check from the Patriots, but wasn't able to pass the physical because of his knees. And we all knew that Tim had knee problems. But somebody had texted us while we were on the air and said that there was one other player that made it. And it was a guy by the name of Jerry Paul Vanderhorst back in 1945. Is that ring a bell?
That could very well be, but I thought Evan Jolitz got drafted too.
Well, he did. That was the correct answer.
Yes,
Evan Jolitz was.
Got drafted in 1968.
Right. And he played, I think he played 1 year for the Bengals and then 3 years in Canada.
Yeah.
So,
to speak to Jerry Vanderhorst, Jerry sponsored a scholarship for us for years, and I think he did play with the pros, maybe in Los Angeles or something before he was with the Rams.
at the time.
Yeah, and before he came back to Dayton and started his insurance company and so forth. But I think that's a good possibility.
Yes, because that's what somebody had said. Because I had never heard of that story that Jerry played for the Rams, but I knew Evan Jolitz did. But other than that, I wasn't unaware. I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about this week's opponent, the Bath Wildcats, and some of the experiences our coaches have had in that series when we come back right after this.
Albert Sporting Goods is here to outfit your team, both on and off the field. Since 1980, Albert Sporting Goods has serviced schools, clubs, and businesses throughout Ohio. For all of your uniform, spirit wear, and equipment needs, make it Albert Sporting Goods. Order online now at albertsportinggoods.com and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
St. Mary's Legion Post 323, veterans working for veterans and the future of our country. The St. Mary's Legion Post 323 supports veterans programs such as Gifts for Yanks, Support the Troops, Comfort Warriors, Blood Donor, POW MIA programs, as well as children and youth programs. The St. Mary's Legion Post 323 also donates thousands of dollars each year to local summer programs such as Boys State, Girls State, Scholarships in Education, Boy Scouts, oratorical, and shooting sports. St. Mary's Legion Post 323, remembering the past, living the present, and working for the future.
Auglaize Equipment Rental is your source for all your equipment needs. Whether you're a contractor or a homeowner with a project, we can help get the job done more efficiently. Check us out at 1900 Salina Road or auglaizeequipmentrental.com or just call 419-394-7883. Auglaize Equipment Rental.
St. Mary's Eagles 767 is dedicated to promoting the general welfare of the citizens of St. Mary's by giving special attention to public improvements. They are also committed to helping meet the public needs and all that relates to the betterment, convenience, and comforts of the citizens of St. Mary's. For more information on how you can become a member, call 419-394-3257 or stop in during business hours at 404 East Spring Street in St. Mary's. St. Mary's Eagles, 767. People helping people. Well, we welcome you back to this edition of Third and Long, a special broadcast tonight. We're live streaming from Guarnieris Pizzeria and Pub, and of course there are some folks sitting around the tables here watching us live. But if anybody out there in the crowd or the audience has any questions they'd like to direct to the coaches, feel free to come up and we'll grab a microphone and we'll let you ask a question. But here's what I'm going to do. When you come and ask a question, you have to state your name, because if you ask a stupid question like I normally ask a stupid question, I want people all over the world to know that I'm not the only stupid person on the planet. So if you have a question, feel free to come on up and ask. This week, the Rough Riders take on the Bath Wildcats. The Bath Wildcats in years past have had outstanding programs. They've fallen on hard times this year. I think they're 0-8 coming into week number 9. They haven't scored in the last 4 games. So, but we've had some battles with the Bath Wildcats over the years.
Yeah, I think particularly I know Bath was really good back in the early 80s through about 1990. They had a coach there by the name of Gary DeLuca that had some really good teams at Bath, and you know, for a lot of years that was kind of the big game on our schedules. We had to line up against Bath, and like I said, they were pretty good and very good defensively, as I remember. But over the years, you know, Bath's had a few good teams now and then. I know they've really kind of struggled this year, and so you know, but you know, it comes and goes.
It does.
Yeah, probably the hardest defeat that we had there was in 1992 with a team that was going to go 13-1 and end up winning the state championship. And Bath beat us in overtime. And so, you know, going into overtime, we did everything but clang the bells and call the fire department to bring the trucks down the sideline to fire everybody up. And so we got the ball, and first play got a 15-yard penalty. So now it's 1st and 25. Second play, we gained 1 yard, and from then on it just went on downhill. And they beat us. They just outplayed us. Well, then, you know, the penalty for a loss was always full equipment on Monday. Well, there's nothing more humiliating than run out through Casey Geiger Park with your full suit on. But this one, no one was going to run out through the park. We all, luckily, I remember Coach Freewall and I had the JVs, and we bust them out and got the heck out of Dodge, went out for the JV game. But the little gray-haired man was line up, called the play, line up, and there's no huddle. It was line up, run the play, line up, run the play, line up, run the play, and forever. And the scorecard said they ran 60 plays in a row. And I had a son on that team, and he said, thank God whenever he finally blew the final whistle, that was it, because everybody staggered to get back into the roundup. So that was a big defeat, and I know some guys from Bath that that's the one thing that they remember, that they beat the state champions that year.
Well, many people might not remember, but at one point in time, both the Delphos St. John Blue Jays and the Coldwater Cavaliers was in the Western Buckeye League. When Coldwater left and Delphos left, Elida came into the Western Buckeye League, and so did Bath, and both of them came out of the Northwest Conference. So they had some success in the Northwest Conference.
Yeah, I think those were the two premier teams at that time in the Northwest Conference. and then they came to Western Buckeye League. And both those schools had growing enrollment, so they were getting big. They were probably the biggest two schools in the Northwest Conference, and the Western Buckeye League was kind of a move. They kind of put them against schools that are their same size. And just to add a little bit to Roger's story about the 1992 team, yeah, we were a good football team. And that team, in that ball game, we had Mike Elston go down with an ankle, and Luke Kleinance went down with an ankle in pregame. So we played that whole game kind of left-handed. And then, of course, they ended up tying the game late in the game, and we lost in overtime. But that Bath team was a very good team. They lost in the regional finals in the division just below us in the playoffs. And of course, then we won the regional game, and we went on and played for the state championship, and Bath got knocked out. But they were one game away from being in the state semifinal. Really? Yeah. So they were a very good team. Yeah.
I remember back in the 70s, early to mid 70s, we were on a 22-game win streak. We were playing down here at Skip Bachman Stadium, and they come rolling in, and they snapped our 22-game win streak. I think we scored 8 points. They scored 20, and that was pretty much it. They had a quarterback at the time by the name of Greg Malk, and Greg later went on to University of Toledo, and he and I got to talking and reminiscing, and we later became pretty decent friends. And I still see Greg every now and then coaching girls basketball, but they were pretty strong. Gary DeLuca was the coach. Did not Jerry Cooper at one point in time take over Bath? And Jerry's moved on to LCC, and he's all over. He's at Shawnee currently. But any other stories that you have in recollection of your preparation for Bath? Anything of that nature?
We just always knew at that era, like Voss was talking about, they were very, very good defensively, and you had to do everything right. You just had to play them. It was just going to be a tough ball game, and especially going up there. It was always tough going up there. I remember just prior to the state championship years, one year they popped it was like a trap, just poof, and it was in our secondary, and the guy went 90 yards, and we chased him and never caught him, and I think they beat us 8-0, and that was our only loss, but that made them the state or the league champions.
I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take a break. We're going to have some final thoughts and comments. Any questions that might happen to be out there, feel free to come up, and we'll address those as well. But we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back to Guarnieris Pizzeria and Pub. You're watching Third and Long live on Rider Nation Station. We'll be right back.
Here at TLC, we expanded our business, so we wanted the security of knowing exactly where all the kids are and what's going on in each of the rooms. We chose Fowler's because we've done all our televisions with them, and they mentioned they have security systems. So we just wanted to go out and look at it, and they were very upfront, and they do excellent work from start to finish. And so we chose Fowler's TV. It's been great for us here at TLC Learning Center, and Fowler's TV would be great for anyone.
Kogi Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning has brought the best in comfort control and plumbing services to the St. Mary's area for over 57 years. Kogi's takes pride in identifying heating, plumbing, and air conditioning solutions which stand out from the rest. Give Kogi's a call today. Kogi Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, a name you can trust.
Thank you for watching Rider Nation Station's presentation of Third and Long, brought to you by these following fine sponsors: Buffalo Wild Wings, Miller's Funeral Home, Eagles Lodge 767, Rabel's Auto Service, Plus One Professionals, Auglaize Equipment Rental, Midway Trailers, American Legion Post 323, Albert Sporting Goods, Family Audiology, Speckman Automotive, Kogi Plumbing and Heating, Spees Chiropractic, Varsity Lanes, Minster Bank, VFW Post 9289, and Guarnieris Pizzeria.
Guarnieris Pizzeria and Pub has partnered with Rider Nation Station this season so that every Friday night Guarnieris can be Rough Rider Central. Guarnieris will be streaming Rough Rider football live every Friday night at 7, paired with your favorite Rider aid. Call Guarnieris during or after the game to place your pickup order for pizza, wings, or hoagies at 419-394-2244. Remember, Guarnieris, home of the signature Big Ralph. All righty, we welcome you back to Third and Long on Rider Nation Station. I'm your host, Joe Hurlbert, along with Coach Denny Vossler, Roger Duncan, and Cork Martindale. Let's talk a little bit. There was one game we talked prior to coming back on the air, is the Greg Yingling field goal that the Riders were able to take away a victory on that one. Voss?
Yeah, that would, I think, been 1990, and the score was tied 8-8, and that was right during DeLuca's run there. And we drove the ball down to about the, 7 or 8 yard line real late in the ball game, like only a few seconds left. And then Greg Yingling came out. Skip had the ball centered right in front of the goal post, and Greg came out and put it through, and we won the game, I think, 11-8.
Really?
Because it was 8-8 at the time, yeah. And of course, we went on to go 10-0, and then ended up being 14-0.
Right, exactly. So. Let me ask you this: when you talked about field goal, when did Skip start going for field goals and kicking extra points? Because it always used to be, it was like 2 points automatic. Who convinced him to do otherwise?
Well, I think a lot of that started when he got them big square-toed shoes. When they invented those big, that I've only seen at St. Mary's, but he had those big high-top square-toed shoes that, you could trot somebody out there and kick that thing through, and my God, you had a nice square, big, heavyweight steel toe on those things. And we had a lot of the Walters kids, and all those kids were very good at that. Yep. And I think we had Rusty Krug. He kicked some through for us in the 80s, and so that kind of changed it. I think when he got that shoe.
And really, the expert on our kicking game isn't here. Coach Freewall was our kicking coach.
Oh, was he?
Yes.
We talked a little bit about Delphos St. John being part of the Western Buckeye League, and we're going to sidetrack just a little bit. Coach Duncan, you have a story about Delphos.
Yes, I do. We were getting Delphos St. John at that time was very poor, and we knew that we were going to run over them and go on into the playoffs. Well, the year before, we had a coach, Charlie Hoyman, and we signed all our signals in. We didn't have messenger guards or messenger ends, and Denny Long had come up with a great and easy sign thing. And so all of a sudden Skip decided we're going to sign the plays in. And the volunteer coach that year didn't want to do it, and of course Voss and Greg were plenty busy with the defense, so he looked at me and said, "Dunk, you're going to do it." So I learned all the signals, and we went through 2/3 of the game, and everything worked out perfectly. Well, he always ran the wingback counter into the short side of the field, and I made the signal for the wingback counter, and then there was a counter sign and just as the quarterback turned away, I thought, oh, crud, I forgot that sign. And we ran it into the wide side of the field, but we gained about 45 yards. So I thought, oh, boy, I'm off the hook. No, I wasn't. He's just mad and red and screaming at me and jumping up and down. And Bobby Pruitt was the quarterback. Well, all this commotion on the sidelines, he jogged over and was about 3 yards out there looking at me and just grinning because I was catching you-know-what. But he was also saying something to me. And I looked at him like, what? And he says, "I can read your lips." And I said, and I just pointed like way over there. So from then on, 6-0 trap was not signaled in. I would mouth it, 6-0 trap. And we ran it, and I told Denny up in the press box, all these signals aren't going to mean a dang thing because Bobby can read my lips.
That's funny. That's funny. Does anybody out there have any questions they'd like to ask the coaches, and maybe some questions that they might have in their relationship as being part of Skip's staff or anything of that nature? Any special questions? A lively bunch here tonight. Any final thoughts, comments? We got Bath coming in this week, of course. Here's a question to you. Bath comes in. They're 0-8. They haven't scored in 4 games. Their numbers are down. I think they've got 36 players. The last, I think, Coach Fry told me this morning. And how do you prepare mentally to play a team that's just probably not having their best season?
No, well, I think you want to go out and just play a solid game. Limit your mistakes and then move through this game and play your regulars as long as you need to, and don't get anybody hurt. It looks like you don't like to look ahead, but we could have a big game the following week against our rival. Absolutely. And you want to be healthy, and you want to be going in on an up note. So you want to go out and play well and get this one under your belt, and then get ready for the next one. So
absolutely.
Yeah, exactly right. I think it's a time to work on fundamentals. You can go back to basics, step, and do that, because you don't have to play or practice hard. You do, but you don't. Like Coach said, you don't want to get anybody dinged up. And you always have the old adage in the back of your mind: any given Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, only God knows who's going to win. On occasion, he's surprised, I think.
And I guess one question I want to ask: what do you guys think about the running clock? 30 points or more in the second half, they run the clock. Dunk?
I think it's a good idea. Usually at that point in time, the other team has had it, and all you're doing is taking a chance on hurting their kids that are, like you say, they only got 36 kids. They've got kids going both ways. They're tired. They're worn out, and that's when they get hurt. Mm-hmm. And you can't call off the Wolves. You can't tell the JVs to go in there and not try.
Absolutely.
And so I think in that aspect, I think it's a good thing.
Absolutely.
I think for the most part, though, over the years, coaches have kind of had a running clock in their mind. I know when St. Mary's would get ahead back in the days, and hey, we put our subs in there, and they were playing, and they were playing. I remember, I'll never, funny story. I remember one time we were playing Salina, and we had Salina down. It was 50-some to nothing in the third quarter, and Skip pulled all his starters, and of course we played the JVs against Salina, and Salina kept their first string in there, and they scored like 28 points, and so the final score was 60-some to 28 or something. And Skip was a little upset because they scored all those points against our JVs. But I can remember, I think it was Fred Hilbert at the time was the coach, and Fred come running across the field at the end of the game and looked at Skip, and Skip was kind of irate, and he told Skip, he says, "Hey, coach," he says, "my first team's better than your second and third team." Just like that, because he wanted Skip to know that he really wasn't trying to beat up on his kids. He just wanted to get a little confidence for his kids, because he got another game next week. Sure. But I think that's kind of has been handled pretty well over the years too. Yeah. So maybe the running clock's kind of an overdone thing, really. So
absolutely. Well, if we don't have any questions from our audience, we're going to wrap things up. Coaches, I appreciate you stopping by and being a part of our Third and Long program. We want to thank Guarnieris Pizzeria and Pub for hosting us tonight. We want to thank you for watching Third and Long here on Rider Nation Station. For our entire Rider Nation Station crew, for our coaching staff, I'm Joe Hurlbert. We'll see you next time on Third and Long. So long, everyone.
Plus One Professionals Real Estate always goes the extra mile. Besides listing and selling, they offer free use of their moving van and a free interior design consultation to their customers. Plus One Professionals, going the extra mile.
Colder weather is just around the corner, and you want to make sure your family's vehicle is tuned up and ready to go. Rabel's Auto Service has been voted the best auto repair center in St. Mary's the last 3 years. And did you know they will pick up and deliver your vehicle for free? Give Rabel's Auto Service a call at 419-394-1624 or stop in and see Jeremy at 1610 Salina Road in St. Mary's. Rabel's Auto Service in St. Mary's. Give them a call today.
Thank you for watching Rider Nation Station's presentation of Third and Long, brought to you by these following fine sponsors: Buffalo Wild Wings, Miller's Funeral Home, Eagles Lodge 767, Rabel's Auto Service, Plus One Professionals, Auglaize Equipment Rental, Midway Trailers, American Legion Post 323, Albert Sporting Goods, Family Audiology, Speckman Automotive, Kogi Plumbing and Heating, Spees Chiropractic, Varsity Lanes, Minster Bank, VFW Post 9289, and Guarnieris Pizzeria. Thanks for watching another episode of Rider Nation Station. Help us help you by subscribing on YouTube or following us on Facebook.